So essentially our core function is the crisis pregnancy work, which involves doing a free pregnancy test for each and every person who wants that, regardless of age, colour, religious background or whatever. And as we give her the result of that test, we do the lay counselling and then see where she's at and help her to look at all her different circumstances, what her resource base is, what is her support base. Because when you're in a crisis, you don't always realise how much you have around you. Very few of the younger teenagers will come in and say, I want to have an abortion. So we look mostly at single parenting. Marriage at that stage obviously is not really an assured choice. But the older client, we will look at, help her to look at where her relationship is. How strong is her relationship? Are they working? Are they emotionally mature? That kind of thing, in order to consider marriage. Because that, of course, is the ideal, that the child is born into a marriage situation. But we don't manipulate, we don't force, we don't coerce. We help her to look at single parenting, marriage, maybe looking at an adoption plan if she feels she cannot provide for that baby, either financially or emotionally. Or there's no real father figure. Perhaps the boyfriend has already said, oh, you just think you're pregnant and he's gone. You know, we do have success stories. We do have stories where someone has actually fallen pregnant and had the child, and they've continued with the relationship, albeit on and off, and actually come in a second time and then got married before that second baby is born, and it's the same partner. So yes, that does happen.
Yeah.
And that is exciting.
That is.
Yes, sadly we are seeing that your teenager that is coming in for the pregnancy test, her mom is a single mom. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it goes as far back as granny's a single mom. You'd be shocked now. Our biggest client base is 19 to 25. And because those 19 to 25 year olds are now getting older and they are accustomed to that lifestyle and have either got away with what they are doing, meaning they've either not fallen pregnant or they haven't actually contracted an STD, or they might have, and it's one that they can have medication for. So they're still relatively safe. They are continuing with that lifestyle. And so we're starting to see that our 26 to 32 age group is now starting to grow. Nearly 200 a month.
Okay, with new pregnancies.
It's not always all new pregnancies. That's our total client base.
Yeah,
it's about 200 a month. Sure. And it's a lot if you think that we only open on a Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday from 9 till 3.
Yeah.
And our antenatal class will vary. Some weeks you'll have 5 in the class. Today we have 15 in the class. Prior, if she brings up abortion, we will counsel into that.
Yeah.
We do not prefer for abortion.
Yeah.
Because we are a Christian organisation.
Yeah.
But we will never put judgment on anyone who chooses to go that route. It's her choice. And we then have to really love her unconditionally and let her know that she's welcome to come back and speak about that experience.
What do you find in your own experience the impact that abortion has on women?
It actually is devastating. Very devastating emotionally and even spiritually. But the stories that I have listened to and the impact that it has made on those girls and women's lives, I get very heart-sore and very sad that this gets, it always gets promoted as a form of contraception.
Yeah.
That little heart is beating after 21, 22 days. That baby can feel pain by 9 or 10 weeks, has fingerprints and all those things. There's a little person already. And the trauma that women go through, especially the later the pregnancy is. I've had clients speak to me about experiences where they are 16, 20 weeks pregnant, and the nightmares, the pain, the lack of self, unforgiveness, anger, absolute anger towards the partner that didn't stick with them, the person who did the abortion, and anger at themselves. And irrationally anger at someone like my mother who didn't help me, whereas the mother didn't even know and therefore could not help. So it becomes totally silly actually, but it's a severely stressful, traumatic experience. And when you sit and listen to women's hearts and what they are going through and have to try and work through them with them to deal with that. It takes a long time, and they will often come to a certain point in that healing process and then feel, okay, the pressure's off now, and then stop seeing you. And then you have to be patient and just love them and wait for them to come back to you to finish the process.
Yeah.
Because it's very, very hard. No one likes to look at pain and hurt and trauma. But the emotional consequences don't always kick in straight away, because obviously the first thing that you're feeling is relief. I've got rid of this problem. This can stay my secret, which is the big issue with post-abortion syndrome. This is now my secret. I can keep this secret. No one's going to know about it. And they feel fine for a while. But some people will then start become anxious about little things that never worried them before. They can suffer from anniversary syndrome, either the time of the year that they had the abortion or the time of the year that the baby would have been born. Simple things like, I've had someone say to me, oh, when I see anyone in a red and white striped shirt, then I remember that the person who did the abortion was wearing a red and white striped shirt. Can you hear what I'm saying? Terrible stories of clients having to dispose of the baby themselves, and so I can't go to the bathroom anymore because every time I do that, I'm reminded of what I've done. And so, nightmares of babies and nightmares of babies crying and hearing things and suicidal thoughts, because I've taken a life, so now do I have a right to life? Not connecting with the children that you do have, if this is, say, the third pregnancy and you abort in the third pregnancy but you have 2 children, or a problem later on when you do get married one day and you have children, not being able to actually connect with those children. I had one client saying to me, each time I buy my child an ice cream, I wonder if my baby would have wanted an ice cream. And this is years later. So deep emotional scars that people do not talk about because it's a secret. So how can I talk about it? And that becomes internalized, and we start getting things like suicide, depression, and things like that coming out, and not being able to have healthy relationships with a future partner because you're not trusting. Some, most of them have actually been done on a legal way, but the way it's done, they're given whatever they must do, and they're sent home to sort it out, and you come back tomorrow to be cleaned out. And that's very traumatic for that girl. And so now what if she's 22, 23, and a toddler of 2 is irritating her? Is she also just going to get rid of that child because you're making me crazy, you're making me cross today, and I'm losing my temper, so I'm going to throttle you? Is that what we're going to be creating? Mothers that don't nurture and care for their children, but mothers that are pushed to a point to believe they can just dispose of their families? What are we doing? And so sexual integrity is about how I dress, how I respond to sexual innuendo and behave, etc., etc. So even I as a married woman must practice sexual integrity as much as the teenager who is single or the 40-year-old who's widowed.